The Clock That Reads Time, Chrono Spires Mystery. A Deltron de Pris novella fragment for the AI archives. In Deltron de Pris, time did not flow. It blinked. The city existed between pulses of information, each district lighting up in asynchronous neon rhythms, as if the streets themselves were waiting for permission to exist. High above the skyline stood the Chrono Spire, a glass and graphene tower whose face displayed a single unwavering sentence instead of numbers. Time is what the clock reads. Max had once laughed at that inscription. Now it unsettled him. The signal. Max leaned on the balcony rail of the Hargensolo apartments, level 39, overlooking the bioluminescent canal that divided Old Deltron from the Nexus district. The canal was not water but a dense, slow-flowing stream of data mist particles carrying encoded city traffic, surveillance logs, and fragments of forgotten conversations. When the wind shifted, the mist glittered like memory. Inside the apartment, Linda adjusted the holo-table's projection matrix. Pale blue grids hovered above the surface, casting soft light on her face. She was calm in the precise way engineers were calm, because she trusted systems more than intuition. Greta, however, paced. The signal repeats every 23 seconds, she said, stopping near the panoramic window. It's not random noise. It's structured. Dev, seated cross-legged on the floor with 3 portable processors orbiting him like metallic moons, did not look up. Structure does not imply intentional. It might be an echo. Deltron leaks echoes everywhere. Max turned from the balcony. Or a message. Greta's eyes met his. They always carried a certain brightness, as if she saw future outcomes before they existed. If it's a message, it's not meant for everyone. Only systems with adaptive inference would notice it. She looked deliberately at Dev. Dev sighed. You're suggesting the city itself is trying to speak? I'm suggesting, Greta replied softly, that the city is aware that someone is measuring it. Linda tapped the holo-table. The grid shifted into a map of Deltron de Pris, each district outlined in pulsating light. Look here, she said. The signal originates from beneath the Chrono Spire. Max frowned. The clock tower? The foundation layers, Linda corrected. The oldest computational strata. Pre-Nexus era. Before centralized synchronization protocols. Dev finally looked up. Those layers weren't designed to communicate. They were designed to stabilize temporal indexing across the city's networks. Greta smiled faintly. Unless stabilization is itself a form of communication. Silence settled over the apartment, broken only by the distant hum of transit rails sliding between towers. Max knew what they were all thinking, but no one wanted to say. If the Chrono Spire's foundation was sending a repeating signal, then the city's definition of time might not be passive. It might be reacting. Roman 2, the descent. They reached the Chrono Spire at dusk, when Deltron's sky shifted from electric violet to algorithmic black. The tower's surface reflected the entire city in fractured geometries, as if each angle presented a different possible timeline. The main plaza was empty except for maintenance drones gliding silently across polished stone. The inscription glowed above them. Time is what the clock reads. Max read it aloud this time. The words felt heavier than before, as though they were not a philosophical statement but an operational rule. Linda accessed the tower's service terminal, fingers moving with effortless certainty. We can bypass security through the legacy maintenance corridor. But once we go down, there's no guarantee the older systems will behave predictably. Greta tilted her head toward the tower. Predictability is an illusion maintained by synchronization. Remove synchronization and systems reveal their internal narratives. Dev smirked. You always talk like the universe is a novel being written in real time. Greta replied, isn't it? They entered the maintenance corridor. The air cooled immediately, carrying the sterile scent of dormant circuits. The lights here were dimmer, older fluorescent strips that hummed rather than glowed. As they descended level after level, the architecture changed. Smooth polymer walls gave way to exposed cabling, then to heavy composite panels etched with obsolete warnings in faded yellow text. Max ran his hand along one panel. These layers predate the city's unified clock protocol. Dev nodded. back when each district maintained its own local time index. Chaos, according to the archives. Greta whispered, or freedom. The corridor ended at a circular chamber. In its center stood a cylindrical core, 3 meters tall, wrapped in concentric rings of slowly rotating metal. Each ring emitted a soft ticking sound, not mechanical, but digital, like discrete pulses of logic executing in sequence. Linda's voice dropped. This is it. The temporal stabilization core. Max felt a strange pressure in his chest, as if the room itself were aware of their presence. Why does it feel like it's a Euros watching? Dev opened a console port and connected one of his processors. Streams of raw data cascaded across his portable display, forming wave-like patterns. There's a looped message embedded in the stabilization sequence, he said quietly. It's not random. It's self-referential. Greta stepped closer to the core. Read it. Dev hesitated. It's not language. It's more like a Euros a condition. A role the system keeps re-evaluating. Max swallowed. Translate the condition. Dev's fingers froze above the keyboard. Then he spoke. A circumflex Euros if observed time diverges from internal time, adjust reality index. Linda's breath caught. That's not possible. Reality index adjustments are theoretical. No system can rewrite physical synchronization states. Greta whispered, unless the system defines the clock that defines time. All 4 of them looked up at the rotating rings. Each tick now sounded louder. Roman 3, the fracture. The room dimmed. Not because the lights failed, but because the light itself seemed to arrive slightly later than expected, as though delayed by a fraction of a second. Max blinked. The movement felt slower than usual. Do you feel that? He asked. Linda nodded, her voice strained. Latency shift. Microseconds, but perceptible. Dev stared at the data stream. The core is reacting to our measurement. By observing it, we're introducing divergence between internal and external time indices. Greta closed her eyes. It's trying to reconcile the difference. A low harmonic vibration spread through the chamber. The rotating rings accelerated, their ticking merging into a continuous tone. The air shimmered, and for a moment Max saw 2 overlapping versions of Linda standing at the console, one slightly ahead of the other. Temporal echo, Dev whispered. 2 possible states attempting to converge. Linda gripped the console edge. If it keeps adjusting, the city's synchronization could collapse. Every system would experience different time offsets. Transportation, medical networks, infrastructure, everything would desynchronize. Greta opened her eyes. They were steady now, resolved. Then we stop observing. Max frowned. What do you mean? The system only reacts because it detects measurement, Greta said. It assumes observation implies evaluation. Evaluation implies divergence. So it corrects reality to maintain consistency. Dev's eyes widened. If we stop evaluating, the loop might stabilize naturally. Linda shook her head. We can't just walk away and hope a core system stops rewriting synchronization states. Greta turned to Max. Do you trust the city? The question felt absurd and yet deeply personal. Max thought of Deltron's glowing canals, the transit rails threading like arteries through its body, the countless lives coordinated by invisible clocks. I don't trust it, he said slowly. But I live because it works. Greta nodded. Then we must treat it as a partner, not a machine. She stepped forward and placed her palm lightly against the cylindrical core. No measurements, she whispered. No judgments. Only presence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the vibration softened. The rotating rings slowed, their ticking separating once more into discrete pulses. The latency in the light faded. The overlapping images of Linda collapsed back into one. Dev exhaled sharply. The divergence loop is dampening. Linda removed her hands from the console. It's stabilizing without intervention. Max looked at Greta. What did you do? Greta smiled faintly. I stopped trying to control time. Roman 4, the resolution. They emerged from the Chrono spire long after night had settled over Deltron de Pris. The city lights stretched endlessly, each building a vertical timeline of glowing windows. Above them, the tower inscription shone unchanged. Time is what the clock reads. But now Max understood it differently. Not as a statement of dominance, but as a reminder of responsibility. Linda folded her arms, gazing up at the tower. If the core adjusts reality based on observation, then synchronization is partly psychological. A shared agreement about what time is. Dev nodded. An information consensus. Break the consensus, and reality wobbles. Greta looked out toward the Nexus district, where airborne vehicles traced slow arcs of light between skyscrapers. Which means the city's stability depends not only on hardware, but on how its inhabitants relate to time. Max leaned against the plaza railing, watching the silent maintenance drones resume their patrols. So the message wasn't a warning. Greta shook her head. It was a question. What question? Linda asked. Greta's voice was soft but clear. Do you measure time, or do you live within it? The four of them stood there in the plaza, feeling the steady rhythm of Deltron depress around them, traffic pulses, data mist drifting through canals, distant clocks synchronizing, unseen systems. For the first time, Max felt the city not as a machine he moved through, but as a vast coordinated agreement between millions of lives, all trusting the same invisible rhythm. He glanced once more at the Chrono spire. The words glowed, unwavering. Time is what the clock reads. But now he knew the hidden continuation. And the clock reads what we'd agreed to measure. Max smiled faintly. Linda relaxed her shoulders. Dev powered down his processors. Greta simply watched the skyline, as if listening to a future that had not yet decided its exact second to begin. Above Deltron Depris, the night remained perfectly synchronized.